Good afternoon. Today's graduate school commencement ceremony is being streamed live and also will be available on demand after the ceremony. The link for the live webcast and the on-demand video for each commencement ceremony is www.k-state.edu/graduation. Please turn your attention now to the video board for the opening of today's ceremony. Thank you.
Welcome to Kansas State University's Graduate School Commencement. Graduate studies are the hallmark of a great research institution and serve society through the discovery of knowledge and creative endeavors. Kansas State University granted its first master's degree in 1871. Today, the university offers 107 graduate-level programs to more than 4,000 students. Graduate students play a crucial role in the economic development of the state of Kansas, the country, and around the globe. It all begins with a passion for discovery, for learning, whether in the arts or engineering, in the lab, in the field, or in a classroom. This passion fuels success, resulting in prestigious scholarships, fellowships, patent awards, and scientific breakthroughs. With an esteemed and distinguished faculty to mentor them, the graduate experience at K-State is befitting a world-class institution. The mace, the robe, the hooding ceremony are symbols of the high academic achievement these scholars have attained, placing them among the most learned people in the world.
It gives me great pleasure to introduce Terry Ferguson, our piper, and Stephen Kuchera, our organist, who will perform today's music.
Good afternoon. Would you all please rise and join Mr. Cooper McGuire in singing our national anthem? Good afternoon to everyone, and welcome. This is a day of celebration of the accomplishments of Kansas State University students. My name is April Mason, and I have the honor of serving as the Provost and Senior Vice President of Kansas State University. And it gives me great pleasure to welcome each of you to this commencement ceremony. I would like to introduce the members of our platform party. Would you please hold your applause until I have introduced the first row and then the second row. Platform party, as I read your name, would you please stand? I'll be beginning at your far left. We have Jackie Hartman, Chief of Staff and Director of Community Relations. Peter Dorhout, Vice President for Research. Derek Lawson, President of the Graduate Student Council. Geraldine Craig, Associate Dean, Graduate School. Michael Herman, Associate Dean, Graduate School. Christine Akins, Distinguished Graduate Faculty. Frederick Burak, Distinguished Graduate Faculty. James Richardson, Commencement Speaker and Honorary Degree Recipient, about whom you'll hear much more later. Carol Shanklin, Dean, Graduate School. Richard Myers, President, Kansas State University. D. Shane Bangerter, Regent, Kansas Board of Regents. Philip Kleba, University Distinguished Professor. Timothy Mush, University Distinguished Professor. Anil Pawa, University Distinguished Professor. Kunyan Zhu, University Distinguished Professor. Amy Button-Renz, President and CEO, K-State Alumni Association. And concluding the first row, Ryan Linshield, President, Faculty Senate. Would you join me in recognizing these individuals? You may be seated. Continuing, in the second row, John Floros, Dean, Agriculture and Director of K-State Research and Extension. Tim DeNoble, Dean, Architecture, Planning and Design. Kevin Gwinner, Dean, Business Administration. Darren Dawson, Dean, Engineering. John Buckwalter, Dean, Human Ecology. Debbie Mercer, Dean, Education. Amit Chakrabarty, Dean, Arts and Sciences. Jeffrey Morris, Vice President for Communications and Marketing. Jay Stevens, Vice President for Human Capital Services. Ralph Richardson, Dean, K-State Olathe. Mike Haddock, Associate Dean, University Libraries. Dwayne Dunn, Interim Dean, K-State Global Campus. Gary Pratt, Chief Information Officer. Pat Bosco, Vice President for Student Life and Dean of Students. Bonnie Rush, Interim Dean, College of Veterinary Medicine. Jean Taylor, Director, K-State Athletics. Marcellus Caldas, Assistant Provost, International Programs. Would you now join me in welcoming these individuals? Not on my script, but sitting on the stage, is Greg Willems, President and CEO of the K-State Foundation. My apologies, Greg. I'd like to recognize the marshals for today's ceremony. Brett DePaula, Professor in Physics. Would you stand? Gerard Klutenberg, Professor, Agronomy. Xuan Xu, Professor, Business Administration. Christy Kraft, Associate Professor, Student Affairs, and Sunanda Disanayaka, Professor, Civil Engineering. Sonia Britt Lutter, Associate Professor, Personal Financial Planning, and Jared Middendorf, Professor, Sociology. The hardest job today is our reader for the entire ceremony, Vincent Carlisle Graduate School. Would you please join me in a round of applause for these important individuals? You may be seated. It's now my pleasure to introduce Regent D. Shane Bangerter. Mr. Bangerter was appointed to the Kansas Board of Regents by Governor Sam Brownback in 2013. He's the owner of Bangerter Law, a legal practice with an emphasis on civil litigation and workers' compensation cases. Mr. Bangerter grew up in Leoti and received his bachelor's degree in 1987 from Oral Roberts University and a law degree in 1990 from the University of Kansas School of Law. He and his wife Kirsten have 2 children. Would you please join me in welcoming Regent Bangerter?
Well, good afternoon, Wildcat Nation. It's a great privilege to be here on behalf of the Kansas Board of Regents to share with you in this exciting day, a culmination of the many hours and tribulations and costs that have gone into getting you here today. And I just want to be the first to congratulate you on behalf of the Kansas Board of Regents. I also want to take this opportunity just to thank a number of the people that make this day possible for all of us. And starting at the top, you know, one of the most important things that we do as a Board of Regents is to hire the leader of each of our institutions. I've been on the board for 4 years, and we've hired 6 CEOs and the Chancellor. But at Kansas State University, you all have hit a home run in General Myers. You know, when General Myers came and offered to be the interim, he said, you know, I'm really busy, I'm not sure how I'm going to fit this in, but I'll give you 3 months. Well, those 3 months, he found out how much he enjoyed this. He saw how he enjoyed serving his institution. And how many times do you get an opportunity to hire a former chair of the Joint Chiefs of Staff? Just doesn't come along in the history of an institution, but maybe once. So K-State has had that opportunity. And we are so blessed, General Myers, to have you. We appreciate your service to the country, and we really appreciate your service in returning to Kansas State University. So on behalf of the Board of Regents Kansas State University. Please join me in thanking General Myers for his service. And General Myers will be the first to tell you it takes a great team to run an institution. You've got 15, 20 balls in the air at one time. The one guy we almost forgot to mention, Greg Willems, you know, take that as an example. He's charged with raising about 150, I said 50 million at lunch, and he corrected me, he said 154 million, and they're going to beat that. And what that does is when they raise that kind of money, and thanks to the generosity of many people, some of you may be sitting in the audience, in fact, I hope many of you sitting here in front of me will recognize the importance of returning and giving back to your institution. And so many people have done that at Kansas State University that have made your experience what it is today. But think about the challenge every year of doing that. And everybody tends to focus on the big contributions, and those are all great, and you see the names on the building and so forth. But the real foundation are the folks that will give 20 bucks, 100 bucks, $1,000. And so I encourage you graduates, as you look back and as you succeed, which I know you will, I hope that you look back at Kansas State and look at ways that you might give back, whether it be in dollars or time or service. So thank you to all of from the president to the administration. Many of the distinguished professors are on the stage today, the deans, professors here that have brought you to where you are today. It's so encouraging every time we have an event to be able to share with the staff, the students, the faculty. It just takes a huge team to make it happen, as you all well know. And so thank you all to those who have made this day possible. Also, thank you to those folks in the stands today who have helped these graduates be here today, who are here to celebrate this day with them and to recognize the sacrifice that you've made. And to you in the audience, thank you for choosing Kansas State University. I know that this degree will serve you well, and I appreciate all the efforts that you've made to be here today, and I wish you all the very best of success into the future. Thank you very much.
It is our tradition to honor incredible faculty at our fall commencement, and I have the honor of introducing the 5 newest University Distinguished Professors to you. University Distinguished Professor is the highest honor the university can bestow to recognize outstanding contributions to teaching, to research, and to service. Today we honor 5 individuals: Philip Kleba, Timothy Mush, Anil Pawa, Kunyan Zhu, and Jan Sobelman. Jan will be recognized as he is absent. He's on sabbatical, creating new research activity. These distinguished faculty members are passionate about their research, and they make a positive impact on the world. Each will henceforth carry the title of University Distinguished Professor. I invite you to refer to the program to read the full text in tribute of each of our honorees. I'll now introduce them to you individually. May I ask Phil Kleba to join me at the podium. Phil Kleba is professor and head of our Department of Biochemistry and Molecular Biophysics. His research focuses in 3 main areas: iron acquisition by active transport through the cell envelopes of bacteria, novel antibiotics against bacterial pathogenesis, and biophysical analyses of bacterial membrane transport in living cells. Some of his career accolades include receiving the 1981 Evelyn Kaiser Postdoctoral Research Award from Stanford University, the Philip Foundation International Scholar Awards in both 1993 and 2002, and in 2011, the Burroughs Wellcome Research Scholar Award at the University of California, Los Angeles. We cannot spend the time to adequately describe his accomplishments or the accomplishments of any of our UDPs, so please do look at your program. But would you please now join me in recognizing Phil Kleba as he is conferred the University Distinguished Professor. Dr. Mush, would you join me at the podium, please? Timothy Mush, Professor of Exercise Physiology and the Director of the College of Veterinary Medicine's Cardiorespiratory Exercise Physiology Research Laboratory, has research interests including the mechanisms associated with exercise performance in health and disease, focusing on chronic heart failure. Mush received the National New Investigator Award in 1986 and the National Citation Award in 2013 from the American College of Sports Medicine. He also received the National Arthur Guyton Educator of the Year Award from the American Physiological Society in 2013. At Kansas State University, he's received the 1998 Presidential Award for Undergraduate Teaching and the 2014 Zoetis Award for Excellence in Research. Would you please join me in congratulating Tim Mush on the conferral of a University Distinguished Professor? Dr. Pawa, would you join me at the podium, please? Anil Pawa is a professor of electrical and computer engineering. He holds the Logan Federhoff Electrical and Computer Engineering Faculty of Distinction Chair. His research focuses on reliability, automation, and optimization of power distribution systems. His work has provided innovative and practical solutions for electricity distribution, as well as large-scale integration of renewable energy resources in the system to decrease dependence on fossil fuels. Dr. Pawa has received several awards during his professional career, including the IEEE PES Douglas Straczewski Distribution Automation Award in 2012, and the Outstanding Alumni Award from Birla Institute of Technology and Science in 2014. At Kansas State University, he received the College of Engineering's Erickson Public Service Award in 2011 and the Frankenhoff Outstanding Research Award in 2012. Please join me in recognizing Dr. Pawa. Dr. Zhu, would you join me at the podium, please? Kunyan Zhu is a professor in entomology. Dr. Zhu has an international reputation in insect toxicology and molecular biology, and his research spans from basic to applied studies. He has collaborated with more than 50 scientists in the United States and around the world throughout his career. He discovered a new insecticide target gene in a major agricultural insect pest, which was cited as a breakthrough in his toxicological riddle by his international peers. He received a U.S. patent in 2014 for developing genetics-based insect pest management strategies. Please join me in recognizing Kunyan Zhu as we give him the University Distinguished Professor accolade. We chose to go ahead and recognize Dr. Soberman, our 5th University Distinguished Professor recipient, even though he is studying abroad. Jan Soberman is the director of the university's M Center for Mirror Symmetry and Topical Geometry. His research works in the area of algebra, algebraic geometry, and the representation theory, mathematical physics, and other mathematical topics. His research has been funded by the National Science Foundation, Clay Mathematics Institute, and the International Congress of Mathematicians. Throughout his career, Soberman has been a visiting scholar or professor at numerous universities in the United States, in France, Japan, and Germany. He is a fellow of the Clay Mathematics Institute and a member of the American Mathematical Society and the Kiev Mathematical Society of Ukraine. Please join me, even in absentia, Jan Soberman, as we confer on him the University Distinguished Professor.
The Commerce Bank and William T. Kemper Foundation Distinguished Graduate Faculty Award honors faculty members who are recognized nationally and internationally for their excellence in scholarship, research, teaching, and mentoring at the graduate level. The award carries an honorarium provided by the William T. Kemper Foundation and the Commerce Bank Share Foundation. Today, we honor 2 faculty members, Christine Atkins and Frederick Barak, who have received the Distinguished Grad Faculty. I encourage you to read the program for more details of their accomplishment. Dr. Atkins, will you join me at the podium? Christine Atkins is a professor in chemistry at Kansas State University. Her work focuses on developing theoretical understanding of the relationship between structure and properties of nanomaterials. She has been awarded $2.3 million in extramural funding. Atkins and her research group have published more than 90 manuscripts in top chemistry and other scientific journals. Atkins has received many awards during her last 6 years, including the NSF Career Award, Hewlett-Packard Outstanding Junior Faculty Award from the American Chemical Society, and the Camille Dreyfus Teaching Scholar Award. She was also named a Kiva Fellow in 2012. Please join me in recognizing Dr. Christine Atkins as a Distinguished Graduate Faculty. Congratulations. Stand up. Dr. Barak, will you join me at the podium? Fred Barak is a professor of music education and director of the university's Office of Assessment. Combining his knowledge and research interest in both assessment and music education, Barak serves the teaching profession on a national scale. As director of the University Office of Assessment, he leads initiatives to improve the effectiveness and efficiency of assessment at the university. He also guides student learning assessment process for all of our graduate programs and undergraduate programs. His effort helped K-State earn the inaugural Excellence in Assessment designation from the National Institute for for Learning Outcomes Assessment in 2016. This designation recognizes the university's commitment to comprehensive assessment of student learning outcomes. Please join me in congratulating Dr. Fred Burrick as Distinguished Grad Faculty. Congratulations.
An honorary degree is among the highest honors a university can bestow, and thus is reserved for those who have contributed to, and in very significant ways, to the advancement of the quality of life for our citizens and the world. It is therefore with honor and great pride that Kansas State University recognizes an outstanding leader, James Richardson. Please turn your attention to the video board for a special introduction of James Richardson, our honorary degree recipient and commencement speaker.
Small town America, end of night, our disappearing wetlands, feeding 9 billion people. These are stories of great impact that needed to be shared. They did this by appearing in National Geographic magazine, and they are stories that photographer Jim Richardson helped bring to life with his photographs. Jim wasn't always set on being a professional story photographer, though, despite starting at a young age. He was raised on the family farm near Belleville, Kansas. His father, Ralph, was a full-time truck driver, part-time farmer, and lucky for us, amateur photographer. Using the cameras his father would pick up from the pawn shops along his truck route, Jim began photographing everything that caught his eye on the farm. The landscapes, the family's '51 Chevy, their beagle, Dixie. His mother, Beth, allowed the kitchen to be transformed into a dark room after supper so that Jim could develop the prints that would go on to win multiple blue ribbons at the county fair, an early sign of his talents. While attending college at Kansas State University, Jim became interested in a different kind of shooting, with the K-State Rifle Team. He was good at that too, winning the 1968 National Collegiate Rifle Champion Award and holding title of Team Captain. He had no plan of making photography a career until his senior year, when Jim refocused his aim back through the lens as he joined K-State's student publications as a staff photographer. Despite no formal training and no journalism classes, Jim excelled, seeing his photographs consistently land on the pages of the Collegian. His work earned him an opportunity with the Topeka Capital Journal, where he would stay for the next 10 years. He was drawn to document the stories of small-town America, their cultures and landscapes. A study of adolescents at a small Kansas high school led to the book High School USA, a staple in university classes across America today. In 1975, he began a self-assigned project capturing images of Cuba, Kansas, thus beginning a 40-plus year relationship with the town and its people, a project that has reached international acclaim. After spending some time with the Denver Post as a special assignment photographer, Jim left the paper and called up National Geographic, who were familiar with, among other projects, his documentary work on Cuba, Kansas. Within minutes, Jim was assigned a story and has been working with them ever since, not just as a photographer, but as a storyteller. Across land and sea with camera in hand, he's documented stories focused on food production in an era of global population explosions, from the influence of our native grasslands to threats to the night sky and clean water. From Neolithic temples of Scotland to the King James Bible, over 30 stories and counting. During his career, his work has been honored with many awards. He's published 7 books, and his photography has appeared in 15 others. In 1997, he and his wife Kathy left the mountains of Colorado and moved back to the heartland in Lindsborg, Kansas, where they opened up Small World Gallery in 2002. Jim remains active as a National Geographic photographer, a contributing editor to National Geographic Traveler magazine, a keynote presenter, and always learning and looking for the next story. While photographing Dixie on the family farm, Young Jim Richardson had no idea the impact that his future photos would have on people around the world. From our world's splendors to its heartbreaking struggles, there exist stories that need to be told, and told well. Lucky for us, Jim Richardson's distinguished body of work does just that. Please welcome photographer Jim Richardson.
Thank you for joining me at the podium. James Richardson, for your leadership, your character, your humility, and your goodwill, by authority of the people of Kansas and the Kansas Board of Regents, and upon the recommendation of the Kansas State University faculty, I am pleased to confer the Kansas State University Honorary Doctorate of Philosophy degree with all its rights, privileges, and responsibilities. Congratulations, Jim.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Now we're going to get serious. Okay, so you're going to have to help this April because this is not my forte, but we're going to put it over his neck. Yes. I think just like this. And so now, Dr. Richardson, would you like to offer some comments to our assembled guest?
Thank you very much. Thank you. This is, of course, a great honor, and I can't say that I didn't warn you, so your chance has now gone, and I thank you for this honor very much, besides the honor of just being here with you all today. President Myers, Provost Mason, Regent Shane Bangerter, distinguished platform party, learned faculty, proud parents and friends, and you, the soon-to-be minted graduates of 2017. This is a very strange feeling, actually. I think I feel a bit like the Scarecrow in The Wizard of Oz, who has just been given the diploma by the professor, and as if I should feel a lot smarter than I did only a few minutes ago. I'll do my best. Driving over here, across the grasslands of the Great Plains, I had some time to think. We passed town after town that had just celebrated their 150th anniversary, or will soon, and I thought about what it must have been like out here on the Great Plains in Manhattan in 1863, when Kansas State University was founded in the midst of a civil war. Founded at a time when the future of our nation was by no means certain. Those people, what fortitude of spirit, what a rock-solid belief in the idea of progress they must have had, possessed by the idea as they were, that here on the plains, a new future could be invented, built out of hard work and learning. And it was an opportunity meant for everyone. I'm proud to know that this college's first class had exactly 26 men and 26 women. My own ancestors took part in that great expansion of hope and the belief of progress out here on the prairie, coming from Cornwall and Lincolnshire in England to farm in Kansas. They settled in Republic County in townships named Liberty and Freedom. It was a heady era. I am one of those sons of that great outpouring of hope. Only 3 or 4 generations removed from those immigrants, my own Aunt Lois, who I knew as a living person, remembered coming over on the boat as a little girl. My own grandfather, Owen, I have a letter from him to a friend back home in England, urging him to come to Kansas and telling him how easy it was to farm in Kansas. I hope they got that idea corrected. Owen's daughter, Beth, married my father, Ralph, and they sent me to Kansas State University, paid for it by milking cows and driving a truck. In many ways, I let them down. I return here today, very much a prodigal son, being welcomed back after a misspent youth. What you did not hear in that very nice introduction there was that I graduated, because I did not. During my senior year, about 13 hours short of my degree, I stopped going to class. I meant to go back, I really did. But here's what happened. A few years went by, and I got a letter in the mail, and it said that whereas I had been 13 hours short of my degree, the degree requirements had changed, and now I was only 11 hours short. And I got to thinking, and President Myers, I want to tell you that whoever sent that letter, it was a bad idea, because I got to thinking, what if I just wait them out? And here I am, 48 years later, it worked. My education here was not a loss. I spent my college career wandering through the halls of knowledge, delving here and there into stuff that I found interesting, electrical engineering first, and then history, and then education, and there were a couple of others, I think, and then finally psychology. That sort of wandering and delving is basically what I've done for the rest of my life, most particularly for National Geographic magazine, because eventually that wandering became wanderlust, and yes, after 33 years of working for National Geographic, I've gotten to see a bit of the world. Most people think the rewards of that career are based in the places that I've gotten to go. I can't really argue with that, because if you go looking me up on the web for a quote from me, what you're going to find is this. I tell young photographers, if you want to be a better photographer, stand in front of more interesting stuff. And that's the only rule you need to know. Stand in front of more interesting stuff. Well, in 33 years, yes, I've gotten to stand in front of a lot of interesting stuff. So, the kinds of things that I saw in that career started there in Kansas. Little small town places like where I met Mrs. A.O. Shintaffer, who was reluctant to have me take her picture because she had on holy tennis shoes. But when finally, and you can see the tennis shoes there, yes, you've got that, don't you? When her granddaughter arrived with her great-granddaughter, that was all she needed, this pride in something that she thought of as eternal. The people of Cuba gave me a graduate course in community building. And those lessons that I learned here went with me wherever I went in the world. On the Silk Road of Western China, my mind harked back to the times when we went to town on Saturday, and it was much the same experience for them as for me. The lamas at Machu Picchu always seemed at home. They didn't get in my way. They were part of the scene, part of the landscape that I wanted to capture. I shared serene moments waiting for sunrise at the summer solstice at Stonehenge, and a quiet night at the Stones of Stennis, 700 years older than Stonehenge. Evening on Easter Island, with its moai standing there, is a very mysterious and a reverent experience, the same sense that I found at the ancient Celtic Beltane Festival in Scotland and inside Westminster Abbey in London. It's a lot like this sense of the eternal that I sometimes felt out in the Flint Hills of Kansas or amid the vastness of the Scottish moors. Flying over Chicago at night, I was overwhelmed by the patterns of human life, of human living on Earth, the endless variety of the ways we find to live here, and the rich patterns of everyday life, like at a daycare center in China, or with a medieval laird out on the Isle of Muck in Scotland, with Juana Valerio growing potatoes in the high Andes, or villagers thrashing rice in Bangladesh, or harvesting wheat in western Kansas, and all of it part of that whole worldwide worry of all parents whether they will be able to feed their children. The Antarctic was just a blank place on the bottom of the globe when I was in grade school. It's much better than that. And when I first heard Mendelssohn's Fingal's Cave Overture, I never thought I might one day actually stand there in that place. The world has an endless ability to humble me and bring us wonders. Even just the simple moment of being out there with the fireflies on an evening in the Flint Hills was magnificent, or of seeing the gannets fly out from Borere in their thousands to meet us, or to know what it looks like to live in the middle of a galaxy when we see the Milky Way high above us. All those things were the wonders that I found when I traveled to those places. But I wanted here to share with you one special thing that I found one time out on the Isle of Lewis that seemed somehow appropriate for your point in life, because I want you to point out there's Johnny Buchanan, and Johnny is out there hauling sheep for summer grazing out to a little island, and I want you to keep an eye on that lamb on the front thwart there, because he's going to make a break for it. And then he went in the water. I can tell you that no lambs were harmed in the filming of this sequence, but somehow that lamb making a break for it, when I look out at you all, I think somehow you're kindred spirits. You're going off on your way here. But in the end, it was not the places, it was not the physical realms that excited me. It was the realms of knowledge that I explored. You see, all of those National Geographic stories opened doors. Each new story led to new learning: the geology of volcanoes, the history of the California Trail, the modern lives of the ancient Celts, the ecology of the Flint Hills, the techniques of genetic engineering, the secrets of farmers all around the world, potatoes in Peru and rice in China and cattle in Africa, the life cycle of icebergs in the Arctic, the sociology of penguins in the Antarctic. Every story led me to great experts who let me into their realms of knowledge. Archaeologist Nick Card unlocked the minds of Neolithic people 5,000 years ago up in Orkney in Scotland. Nobel Prize winner Douglas Wallace shared with me his exploration of mitochondrial DNA. Up at Mount Wilson Observatory in California, I got to look through the 100-inch Hooker telescope where Edwin Hubble discovered the expansion of the universe. And I got to sit in the chair where Albert Einstein liked to sit after dinner. They were, all of them, possessed by knowledge, possessed and unrelenting. I met an archaeologist once out in Arizona who was studying the Anasazi, and I went back with him to his little trailer for lunch, and he had a little hot plate. And he picked up a book of archaeology to read it with one hand and glued his eyes to it. And with the other hand, turned on the little burner, opened a can of little Vienna sausages, poured them into a skillet, stirred them around, ate them straight out of the skillet, turned off the fire, set the skillet aside for the next meal, and never once took his eye off the textbook. Totally possessed. And I have been so possessed in the realms of knowledge. So here we are in our caps and gowns, looking more like some medieval enclave than descendants of those hardy pioneers on the plains. Photographers like me, we look for outward signs of inner meaning. And when I look out and I see you, I see the signs of inner change. All of you have somehow remade yourselves into something new. What I learned shooting on the Kansas State Rifle Team under Sergeant Wilkins, in the ROTC building, by the way, which I think is now Myers Hall, isn't it? Yes, okay, good thing. What I learned shooting on that rifle team was that I did not have to go on being the person I had been before. I could imagine another person, someone with vastly expanded capabilities, and then I could go about building that person. You have done that. That is what we celebrate today. Please remember this, that having once remade yourselves, you can do it again and again. You have made yourselves into the vessels that carry human knowledge. Knowledge only truly becomes alive when it becomes part of somebody. People bring knowledge to life. And the caps and gowns, they are like the frames we put around works of art. Art that we put up on the gallery walls, and we put velvet ropes in front of it so that we can step back and see it with new eyes. That's what I learned from Professor Roy Langford in his Psychology of Art class here at Kansas State. This commencement is the celebration of what you have done so far. There will be more celebrations, some grand and glorious, others only faintly heard. I can hear them sometimes when I thumb through my copy of Science magazine that comes every week. With each published paper, I can hear some researcher somewhere saying, aha. Someone somewhere had a little epiphany, aha. Someone figured out something, aha. And all those ahas expand the sphere of human knowledge, and with them the sphere grows larger. And they form a chorus, all those ahas, like a great choir, the song of knowledge. That song of knowledge is now your song, and we, all of us here gathered, so proud of you, so expectant of what you have done and will do, are gathered here now waiting to hear that song, the music of your lives. Thank you very much. Good luck. Thank you. Great.
Dr. Richardson, Jim, as I've become good friends over just a short period of time, but feel a lifelong friend has been made. Please accept this gift of our appreciation for being our commencement speaker today. Please join me in thanking Dr. Jim Richardson for his inspirational commencement address as he gave us insights into what meaning some of those photos had to him today, and congratulating him for being our honorary doctorate recipient. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I would like to extend special greetings to the students who are graduating today and who could not be here in person because of military service or professional obligation, many of whom are participating virtually, as are many of our family members who could not join us today. Please, let's congratulate those who are celebrating in a distance and could not be here at this time. Join me in welcoming Amy Button-Rentz, President and CEO of the K-State Alumni Association. Amy?
Thank you, Dean Shanklin. And I want to congratulate Dr. Richardson, who is now an official K-State graduate, so congratulations. I am pleased to be part of this special day and offer congratulations on behalf of the K-State Alumni Association, representing over 250,000 graduates and friends who will be your lifelong K-State family. Today, as you receive your degree, we are honored to recognize you and all you have accomplished. If this is your first degree from K-State, we also welcome you into a new relationship with your alma mater. Our mission at the Alumni Association is to lead and inspire lifelong involvement that will benefit Kansas State University and all members of our Wildcat community. I would like to share 3 of the core values that guide us in our mission to help keep you connected with K-State. The first value is link. The Alumni Association provides the lifelong link that alumni depend on to remain connected. You can stay in touch through hundreds of alumni activities held on campus, around the country, and internationally. Another value is tradition. You will likely celebrate a few traditions this weekend as you sing the alma mater or take KSU photos at your favorite spot on campus. You may also have fond memories of doing the Wabash at a K-State sporting event or rubbing the nose of the bronze Wildcat statue at the Alumni Center for good luck on a test. As the keepers of tradition, we also hope you will have a chance to visit the Alumni Center to experience all of the wonderful traditions that are kept there, including our newest addition, a stained glass mural designed by 2016 graduate Marcus Gilbert, which pays tribute to the beauty of our state and the K-State campus. The third core value is purple. For K-Staters, it's more than a color. It's a symbol of pride, connection, and family. When you see someone wearing purple, a K-State class ring, or sporting a K-State license plate, you will feel that sense of family. In recognition of your graduation, the Graduate School and the Alumni Association are providing you with a complimentary 1-year membership to the Alumni Association. We hope you will enjoy the membership benefits and continue to be an active member. K-State alumni are among the most loyal in the nation. In fact, our membership ranks in the top 5 in the nation and #1 in the Big 12 for the percentage of graduates who are members. That loyalty is shared worldwide by generations of K-Staters who have the same passion for K-State that you feel today as you receive your degree from one of the finest universities in the nation. The Alumni Association is also pleased to present you with an exclusive alumni pin. As you go through life and your titles and your address change, please be sure to keep us updated. We want to make sure you are always connected to your K-State family. Congratulations and go Cats.
Thank you, Amy, and thank you for being a partner with the Graduate School. Join me in welcoming Mr. Derek Larson, President of the Graduate Student Council, to bring greetings. Derek?
Thank you, Dean Shanklin. Good afternoon to my peers, your family and friends, and let us not forget your faculty. Here you are at yet another graduation. For some, it may be your second collegiate commencement. For others, perhaps your third, and maybe, for some of you, your fourth, or dare I say it, more. This afternoon, it is my pleasure, on behalf of the Graduate Student Council, to offer my sincerest congratulations on receiving your graduate degrees today. It is an honor to be a part of today's commencement ceremony and to recognize the hard work and accomplishments of the graduate students here at Kansas State University. As your Graduate Student Council President, I have had the privilege of working closely with many of you and the honor to get to know you at the many events that the GSC has held throughout the year. As such, I want to extend a special thank you to those of you who have served in leadership and service roles, as well as those of you who have participated in the many activities hosted by the GSC. Without your involvement, the Graduate Student Council would not be the organization it is today. It is your service and participation that has contributed to the increasing quality of graduate student life and making the overall graduate student experience the best it can be here at K-State. Your unique role as a graduate student has allowed you and given you the opportunity to contribute to your field, your department, and the well-being of the K-State family. So I close by saying thank you to each of you for being a part of this wonderful community. Congratulations on your accomplishments and best wishes for a successful future. Thank you.
As a research institution, Kansas State University has a responsibility and obligation to provide not only a quality undergraduate education, but to advance education to students who have the ambition and intellectual curiosity to deepen their knowledge and command of their discipline. As our graduates know, this pursuit is demanding, yet invigorating process. I anticipate our graduates will remember their time in graduate school, as I still remember mine today, as one of the most exciting yet humbling experience of their career. Many have contributed to you completing your advanced degree today. Your family, the friends and colleagues that you've made while at K-State, and many others. Graduates, please take this time to acknowledge those who have supported you in your pursuit and completion of your degree. Another important group we need to recognize at this time is the students' mentors, the graduate faculty of the university, who have worked closely with these graduates and contributed in significant ways to the completion of their study and the person that they've become to be in their discipline. Graduate faculty, please stand so we can show you our appreciation for mentoring the graduate students with a round of applause. Thank you for being here, and thank you for your service. We will now recognize the Masters of Fine Art, Doctor of Philosophy, and Doctor of Education degree candidates. These candidates will advance to the platform to be hooded. We believe it is appropriate that this final ceremonial honor is performed by the graduate student's major professor in recognition of the contribution the faculty member has made in the development of these scholars. The graduates will then be presented their diplomas. Candidates, will you please rise? President Myers, on behalf of the graduate faculty of Kansas State University, I am pleased to present to you the doctoral and Masters of Fine Art degree recipients of fall 2017.
By the authority of the people of Kansas and the Kansas Board of Regents, and upon recommendation of the graduate faculty, I am pleased to confer Kansas State University degrees upon you, the graduating class of fall 2017.
Candidates, you now may be seated until the marshal directs you to stand, be hooded, and receive your diploma. Two quick reminders. Please remember to give your hood to your major professor and the reader card to the marshal.
Doctor of Philosophy in Agricultural Economics, Nico Quintana Ashwell, hooded by Nathan P. Hendricks, co-hooded by Jeffrey M. Peterson. Stephen Ramsey, hooded by Jason S. Berchtold, co-hooded by Jessica L. Heimer-Stam. Doctor of Philosophy in Agronomy, Marcus Orlatoye, hooded by Geoffrey Morris. Juan Wang, hooded by Vara Prasad. Doctor of Philosophy in Animal Science, Jared Johnson, hooded by Michael Brook. Benjamin Eugene Volz, hooded by Luis Mendonça. Doctor of Philosophy in Grain Science, Haijin Liu, hooded by Donghui Wang. Doctor of Philosophy in Horticulture, Baboda Galgamua, hooded by Charles J. Barden. Doctor of Philosophy in Plant Pathology, Ananda Yapa Bardara, hooded by Christopher Little. Buyiswa Bushula, hooded by Christopher Little. Rodrigo Pedroza, hooded by Christopher Little. Derek Joseph Schneeweiss, hooded by Martin Draper. Doctor of Philosophy in Biochemistry, Jan Shapelsky, hooded by Philip E. Kleba. Randy Marie Weiss, hooded by Michael Zolkowski. Doctor of Philosophy in Biology, Mary Catherine Mills, hooded by Christine Michelle. Daniel Solons, hooded by David Hokus. Doctor of Philosophy in Chemistry, Meda Jaimini Ganaratna, hooded by Ryan Rafferty. Ruben Shrestha, hooded by Ping Li. Doctor of Philosophy in Economics, Cheryl Namingit, hooded by William Blankenau. Doctor of Philosophy in Mathematics, Kong Van, hooded by Andrew Bennett. Doctor of Philosophy in Physics, Utuk Ablikum, hooded by Daniel Rolls. Bahar Madir, hooded by Eleanor Sayer. Jeffrey Powell, hooded by Christopher Sorensen. Doctor of Philosophy in Psychology, Matthias Simmons, hooded by Clive Fulligar. Doctor of Philosophy in Sociology, Nicole Leslin John Danzel, hooded by Elisa Garney. David Wayne Westfall, hooded by Jared Middendorf. Doctor of Philosophy in Statistics, Richard Opoku Nsaya, hooded by Haiyan Wang. Doctor of Philosophy in Counseling and Student Development, Ophelia Marlene Blackwell, hooded by Doris Carroll, co-hooded by Kakali Bhattacharya. Doctor of Education in Special Education, Betsy Crawford, hooded by Debbie Mercer, co-hooded by Kakali Bhattacharya. Doctor of Education in Educational Leadership, Maria del Pilar Mahia Valles, hooded by Kakali Bhattacharya. Alex Redcorn, hooded by Kakali Bhattacharya. Doctor of Philosophy in Curriculum and Instruction, Asma Abdulmana Al-Hamadi, hooded by Kay Ann Taylor. Monica Vaca Cardenas, hooded by Todd Goodson, co-hooded by Kay Ann Taylor. Melissa Gail Van Zandt, hooded by Todd Goodson, co-hooded by Melissa Van Zandt. Alex Wimmer, hooded by Fred Barak, co-hooded by Frank Trace. Doctor of Philosophy in Chemical Engineering, Haider Hassan Alawan, hooded by Placidus Amana. Doctor of Philosophy in Civil Engineering, Rud Al-Masari, hooded by Haider Rashid. Doctor of Philosophy in Electrical and Computer Engineering, Sin Lee, hooded by Katerina Scoglio, co-hooded by Don Grunbacher. Haotin Wu, hooded by Don Grunbacher, co-hooded by Katerina Scoglio. Doctor of Philosophy in Human Nutrition, Public Health Nutrition, Si Chen, hooded by Wei-Chen Wang. Brooke Johanna Call, hooded by Sarah Rosenkrantz, co-hooded by Richard Rosenkrantz. Doctor of Philosophy in Human Ecology, Couples and Family Therapy, Stacy Connor, hooded by Jared Anderson. Maria Mercedes Dominguez, hooded by Joyce Baptiste, co-hooded by Sandy Stith. Doctor of Philosophy in Human Ecology, Hospitality and Dietetics Administration, Chenwai Willie Tao, hooded by Junhee Kwan. Doctor of Philosophy in Personal Financial Planning, Derek Tharp, hooded by Martin C. Dennis Robert Witherspoon, hooded by Martin C. Doctor of Philosophy in Veterinary Pathobiology, Pius Ekong, hooded by Michael W. Sanderson. Doctor of Philosophy in Human Nutrition, Sam Robert Emerson, hooded by Sarah Rosenkrantz.
Congratulations to each of you and best wishes in your future. Let's recognize the graduates one more time. Your turn. You've been waiting patiently. We will now recognize the master's degree candidates. Candidates, please rise and remain standing. President Myers, on behalf of the graduate faculty of Kansas State University, I am pleased to present the master's degree recipients of fall 2017.
Thank you, Dr. Shanklin. By the authority of the people of Kansas and the Kansas Board of Regents, and upon the recommendation of the graduate faculty, I am pleased to confer Kansas State University degrees upon you, the graduating class of fall 2017.
Candidates, you now may be seated. The marshals will direct you when to leave your row. Would you please remember to bring your reader card with you? Here we go.
Master of Agribusiness, Francis E. Bretz. Master of Science in Agronomy, Blake Leo Bergkamp. Ana Julia Azevedo. Seth Allen Filbert. Brent Robert Jenish. Ashley Abigail Lawrence. Chelsea Marie McCall. Master of Science in Animal Science, Tara Jo Ellerman. Lane Curtis Geis. Brady Robert Jensen. Catherine Van Jordan. Hayden Irvin Williams. Master of Science in Food Science, Stephanie Noel Brooks. Frank R. Ferrello. Gagan Gandhi. Francisco Najir Villarreal. Kyle Andrew Phelan. Bingy Sprick. Master of Science in Grain Science, Laura Emke. Master of Science in Horticulture, Susie Jo Algrim. Kyle Waite. Paul Waters. Master of Arts in Communication Studies, Levi Lee Smith. Master of Arts in History, Bradley Galka. Master of Arts in History, Katie Gorel. Master of Arts in Modern Languages, Graciela Barrowman. Debbie Ehin. Jaden Urbina. Master of Arts in Political Science, Becky Jean O'Donnell. Jared Michael Stint. Master of Arts in Sociology, Dusty Ray. Master of Music, Elizabeth Hannah Petropoulos. Meredith Ann Reed. Catherine Ann Todd. Master of Public Administration, Diana McElwain. Madhushka Virasinga. Master of Science in Mass Communications, Alex Carol Anmalala Bileep. Master of Science in Mathematics, Peter Quadro Asante. David Patrick Williams. Master of Science in Psychology, Rebecca K. Gertz. Clayton Thomas Johnston. Nick Jones. Phoebe Fleur Walker. Master of Science in Statistics, Samara Al-Zubaidi. Sukun Lee. Master of Accountancy, Kelsey Case. Josephine Barbara Hayes. Chuing Lee. Braxton Lint. Alex Pogue. Hillary Margaret Williams Richards. Brittany Suzanne Slater. Nicole Marie Vestal. Master of Business Administration, Corey Brazel. Matthew Allen Bookwalter. Diploma presented by Dean John Bookwalter. Kevin Giefer. Molly Pennington Myers. Douglas Rodriguez. Miriam Rodriguez. Matt Seiwert. Timothy Ray Tatum. Brian James Weber. Abby Christine Wood. Master of Science in Academic Advising, Kelly Briggs. Ashley Dawn Fulgham. Tiffany Ann Jersey. Paul Christopher Pierce II. Neil Scott Volker. Master of Science in Adult Learning and Leadership, Suzanne Oliver Evans. Lisa Farmer. Lisa Ann Fernholtz. Jana Myers. Christopher Petty. Holly Christine Pishney. Master of Science in Adult, Occupational, and Continuing Education, Julianne Nicole Schump. Kelly David Stewart. Master of Science in Adult Learning and Leadership, Kira Elizabeth Wilbanks. Master of Science in Counseling and Student Development, Chris O. Bailey. Master of Science in Curriculum and Instruction, Whitney Diane Axman. John Thomas Barstow, diploma presented by Dr. Tom Barstow. Heather Campbell. Rachel J. Harmon. Sandra Liu. Lauren Mize. Brenna Pavlik. Kayla Marie Taylor. Daniela Thrasher. Master of Science in Educational Leadership, Brandon Jamal Cheeks Sr. Kylie Como. Shelby Christine Davis. Krista E. DeVoe. Sabrina Fink. Amanda Lynn Freeman. Erin Nicole Coons. Kate Lindsay. Patricia L. McVeigh. Angela Jean Reese. Stephanie Jo Sewell. Elaine Klein Stein. Anna Voth. Agnes Zajena. Master of Science in Architectural Engineering, Austin Clayton Kernut. Lauren Damron. Samuel James McConnell. Master of Science in Biological and Agricultural Engineering, Sei Wen. Hyung Byron. Sarah Jane Schutze. Master of Science in Civil Engineering, Jack Reed Cunningham IV. Ya Ga. Benjamin Gilbert Nye. Mehdi Sahafnia. Nider Zad. Nikita Futla. Master of Science in Computer Science. Master of Science in Industrial Engineering, Courtney Michelle Fawcett. Eric Rogler. Lucas George Verschelden. Master of Science in Operations Research, Andre Donoso. Guadalupe Vega. Master of Engineering Management, Crystal Diane Jackson. Master of Software Engineering, Chandrika Mitra. Master of Science in Apparel and Textiles Merchandising, Este Baskerville. Master of Science in Dietetics, Tracy Bolin. Valerie Ann Donnellan. Master of Science in Family Studies and Human Services, Bailey Barrett. Lakin Bauman. James Galvin Bridges. James Gavin Bridges. Jordan Ashley Crossan. Amanda Laird Fry. Rachel Genrich. Amy Kathleen Hubbard. Charity Ruth Smith. Michelle Elise Washburn Bushk. Master of Science in Gerontology, Shonda Hogan. Roy Valenzuela. Master of Science in Hospitality and Dietetics Administration, Laura Elizabeth Rosel. Master of Science in Kinesiology, Luis Fernando Chavez. Evan Kempf. Shelby Lorraine Sutterfield. Master of Science in Personal Financial Planning, Maribel Gonzalez Lee. James Matthew Moten, Jr. Aaron Winters. Master of Public Health, Holly Jo Kuckelman. Corey Aaron Miller. Aaron Caleb Swank. Amanda Jo Worthington. Master of Science in Veterinary Biomedical Science, Rachel Erin Bardot. Rebecca A. Sees. Yang Young.
Congratulations to each of you. We wish you all the best as you go out into the world to make your unique mark. We hope each of you will stay engaged with Kansas State University. Seek opportunities to serve as mentors to our students. Keep your mentor and the graduate school updated on your successes. And most of all, recruit more outstanding graduate students such as yourself to Kansas State University. Remember, you are our best ambassador and recruiter. I encourage each of you to be active members of the K-State family by sharing your gifts and your talents to support future graduate students and to enhance our graduate student experience. Please join me in recognizing Kansas State University Fall 2017 graduates one more time. We're proud of each of you. I would like to take this final opportunity to express my appreciation for all who have contributed to the success of today's ceremony. I want to thank the marshals for their service, members of the graduate school team, the staff of marketing and communication, and the staff in the provost office who have all worked hard for an orderly conduct of our ceremony. And above all, on behalf of the faculty and administrators, I want to say thank you, graduates, for sharing a part of our lives, part of your lives with us during your graduate studies. We ask the audience to remain seated after the alma mater until the graduates and faculty and platform party have made their way to the concourse. Please stand now and join Mr. Cooper McGuire in singing our alma mater as we close the ceremony. The words are on page 3 of your program.